Hi, I'm Catherine. Sorry about that. That was part. So we're gonna start back with part three. My daughter just called me, and I had to answer that to see. One of my daughters called me. Okay, so let's see what was going on. Let's go to Wikipedia now. I don't like Wikipedia. I never watch. This is the first time I ever went on Wikipedia in my life because I don't deal with government shit like this unless I'm gonna write them a letter telling them that you have to take heed to my proposal or you have 3 months. And speaking of that, remember the two senators that we wrote to by email and by fax, by email and fax. Well, we emailed them and I you know well, they have not surfaced, and it's been 3 weeks to the day. I gave them 3 months in August. I said, you take heed to this proposal, or, you know, or you're gonna go out by that shot. You're gonna go out by the boom boom, and you have 3 months. And it was 3 months to the day that he was forced. Both the scorpion on the hand. Look at the movie, The Harder They Fall. You see the scorpion on the Mexican hand. We wrote to him. He bit the dust. California senators. And then the other one, he bit the dust because why all of a sudden on the day that I tell you to and you didn't do it, so they didn't take heed to it. So since they didn't take heed to the proposal of us getting our stuff that we need to get, our which is our 640 acres, which is right where we live at, we got 3 months. So now they were forced. Go ahead and look at Lisa Haven. Now when I say Lisa Haven, she is not she's really really racist. Yeah, it's real bad. But you want to look at her because she tells you what's happening to her people, and it's horrible. It's really bad. So you want to look at what's happening to her. It's real bad. But look at Wikipedia and what they're saying now. Wikipedia lies, but even when they lie, they tell the truth. And this is what you want to look for. This is what you want to look for. This is very important. Now, right here it says the persecution here, the persecution of black people in Nazi Germany during the war, right? It says while black people in Nazi Germany were never subjected to an organized mass extermination program, as in the cases of Jews, see if you can see that, of Jews, homosexuals, Romanian, and Slavs. You see the Slavs? Let's see if you could see that right there. It says, let's see if you can see. Okay, so see, okay, now if it now it says Slavs. Okay, now that those are the Romanian people that Hitler was as exterminated. Now, why does he want them dead? And I mean, like, not one. I mean, he all of them. He don't want none of them to procreate or anything. It's because, and then they said there were none. That means that it says it's right here. It says while black people in Germany were never subjected to an organized mass extermination program. See, they were never subjected to that. They were never subjected to that. See? But why do you put persecution of black people in Nazi Germany during that war when see why did you do that? Why do you write the words like as if we getting killed when we really not? But then here it says, well, even though they weren't targeting black people at all. In fact, it was Einstein who took the black people and created the school over there and then made a school for black people over here. Einstein did because Einstein got his knowledge from black people over there. He's not Einstein because he's smart. He Einstein because he got smart over there. His mathematics was smart over there. Okay, was and so he opened up a school over there. In fact, um, when he took a trip to Egypt in 19, I think 48, or I can't remember what it was, or 1950, I can't remember, but he was really upset because there was no tall black Nubians that he pictured he was gonna see. He brought all his treats and candies and photography film to make sure he can, get next to the Nubian gods and black people. But when he got there, he said he was so disappointed that all he saw was greedy, money hungry Slavs, Romanian Arab people that were dressed in Egyptians, but they were white and they were Arabs. And he was so disappointed because they were begging him, and it was a whole bunch of them just begging him for money. And he was like, "Where's all the tall black God people?" And that's when he realized, wow, you guys killed all the Egyptians. Where's the Egyptians at? This was Einstein. I looked that up, and they called Einstein a racist for saying that. Like, why are you upset because we destroyed the black people in Egypt? See, they called Einstein a racist because he was upset that he couldn't see no black people. But anyway, look at Wikipedia right here where it says, because see, when when we're talking about Eve, coming out of Eve, we're talking about white people, black people who come out of Eve talking with a forked tongue, like they're because they're liars. Um, when we talk about, you know, here right here, Wikipedia, where they say that persecution of black people in Germany, what persecution? I don't see any pictures of piles of dead black people nowhere in Germany. You guys were removing white people from not Libya, from Arab. It says uh, from the Arab countries, Libya or right in that area, or in Israel, and next to Israel, all around in that area, white people were being removed, and black people were moving in there based on Hitler's army. Hitler's army, he had, see, black Nazis. And the only picture you see is black people moving their things as an army from one state to another. I mean, you're not going to look happy if you have to move somewhere. And no, I don't see, the thing about it is that if they were being persecuted and they were being murdered and everything, where's the piles of black people that the Nazis did, not of what black people did in, I guess, in Ethiopia under Mussolini, because you know we can see that if there was some fez wearing people that were killing their own people for Mussolini, then obviously there was some bona fide coons right there. But what about what Hitler was doing? Because even Stalin and Mussolini killed 40 million of their own people, and white people here is terrified of Stalin too. So why y'all scared of Stalin and Hitler? Because they were getting rid of their eugenic problem. Stalin starved out 40 million. I mean, 40 million, that's a lot of people. Starved them right out because he said that they don't want them to procreate anymore. Stalin was just like Hitler, but worse. So why would they do that to their own people? Because they said that if you procreate with those type of people, the Slavs, the Romanians, the Turkish people, the Italians, see the Greeks, see it's the Greeks is what they don't they that's what they talk about when you become a Greek and all that. It's all Slavic. Then you're gonna be eating kids and shit and doing all that, and that's why they got rid of their people. Because the people would come with treaties. These people would come with treaties and would try to mess you up. But Hitler ain't talking about no treaty. He wasn't hearing about no treaty. He wasn't trying to hear about no treaty. He wouldn't hear about nothing. He don't care about no treaty. He don't care about no woman, about your child, because he already know what she eats. Cause we've been through it already. They've been through it. So you got white people who know who their race is. They know. And so when we talk about Cain has returned, we're talking about Cain coming into different forms. Fauci, Trump, Cain coming into people that's waking up. And we're letting you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever evidence they bring, whatever they say, they can't run and hide because the evidence that they bring is criminal. When you look at the Constitution of Choctaw Nation or any nation, in a Chickasaw Nation or Powhatan Nation or Iroquois, whatever, then if you see something where it says no Negro can come into this area here, we have to find that paper because it's all on documents that just type it in. It's right there, print it out and be like, ooh, y'all so guilty. Because why come you didn't put there's no white people or no Mexican or no Chinese can come in? Why you say Negro and what Negro? What black Negro you talking about? You talking about Africans? Okay, how come you didn't put Africans? Okay, well, what part of African are you talking about? Because see, there was no Africans. There was no such thing as African. There's no such thing. It's just Negro and gingerbread colored people and outlaws. Outlaws is out of your jurisdictional area that you stole. So we're outside of that because we would gun you down and kill you. And that's why Judge Joe Brown hate Dane Calloway. Because Judge Joe Brown is becoming outnumbered now by the people that's becoming aware of, well, damn, yeah, why didn't you do anything? You're a judge, but you knew you were, oh, so you're not really from Choctaw. No, you're a Eve man and you talk with a forked tongue because you can't serve two masters. That sounds like that biblical stuff. You can't serve two masters, but what I'm saying is that you can't serve. What are you? Are you a Choctaw? Or are you a judge? And when you're a judge for their court. And if you're a judge for their court, they're demanding that the black people, the Negro people that they pushed away, is now the outlaws. Now they're looking at us as the enemy. Always have been. That's why they've been shooting black people on the streets because they always looked at us as outlaws. Because well, we would be. Well, wouldn't we be? Listen, if they're not from this land and this country, wouldn't we all be outlaws? Of course we would be. However, we've been having coons working for the parasites that took over our land. So that's what stopped us from moving forward. It's because of the coons. The coons were stopping us from getting to the Peckerwood. It stopped us right dead in our tracks. And then because when you look at our great grandparents, because like if you go to ancestor.com and you just paid a $20 fee, or I don't know, mine was free, and I printed out my family tree. You don't use your DNA or anything like that. But I did that because that was like a long time ago. That's when it first came out, and I didn't know that you weren't supposed to send in your DNA. I was like, ooh, well, yeah, they could probably pinpoint where I really come from now, because if I send in my DNA, they can't deny it. And guess what they did? They said send in your DNA, your spit, so we can see where you come from. And they still put that everybody black that put their DNA here is over there we're from Africa. Okay. Now, right there, not only is it criminal, but it's real bad, because why did you take our DNA? And and now that we know that you're criminals, because Benjamin Franklin, I put a post on there, look on the video, part 2. Benjamin Franklin came over here as a criminal. All of them, President Jefferson came over here as criminals. When all of y'all is criminals, and you know that you guys were criminals when you came over here, so your forefathers criminals, and now you still criminals, and you taking some innocent people DNA. What do you think is going to happen to you when the court opens up and they find you guilty of all things? I mean, what did you do to the DNA? What did you do with that? Because you can't have our DNA, but yet here you are, where you brainwashed us to believe that what you say is true when this whole time you guys were like are criminals. Because when you look on, even here, Wikipedia, persecution of black people in Nazi, where's the where's the pictures of piles of black people? But you say persecution when you knew that Einstein took all of the black kids that were being killed by the Jews into his school because he didn't know how to do math. What? You think Einstein's just smart because he? Oh my God, people be slow. Einstein got all of his mathematics from black people. I'm just letting you know, okay? And he opened up a school and he's because he said it. He the one said it, and I don't. How am I supposed to know that? Like, you have to type in Einstein black school, Einstein's black children's school. Type it in. He has his own black children's school. Anyway, they taught him how to do math and shit. The grown-ups over there where he was at, and anyway, so yeah, that's why he stuck out his tongue. It's like, ha, because you could see a whole bunch of nothing but black kids. You don't see no white kids in his classroom because he was over there in Libya with Hitler, and they were removing the white people and killing them. Just point blank range, wherever they see white people, they just kill them. Poland and Austria, clearing out Poland and Austria, all over there, trying to clear out Italy because Hitler wanted Italy. I understand why he wanted Italy. It's very beautiful, and it's the Mamraka. It's the Moors' country. It's not white people's country. It's the Moors' country. It's their country, but the Moors are so fucking stupid. They so dumb. Wow, it's so stupid. It's really questionable to if you really think about it. Especially the ones that's over here. It's like they just stupid. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like if you just look at it, just look at this, just look at what they did, and then they still claiming under this United States that, well, we recognize you, but we're not giving you your land. That right there alone is a fight. Well, you don't have to recognize me. I'm just telling you that Morocco is mine and you removed me because we brought you here. So and the British said, Paul Revere, Paul Revere, before Paul Revere, there was many of him saying that because the British were already there and they brought them over here as criminals. So the Moors would have to take them back. That's what they were supposed to do. That's why Paul Revere was running over here, running to his people, telling him that the British, but he didn't. They were in silent, in secret doing that because the British were already there. Because the British were criminals and the Moors were hiding them here. See, right? Okay, so they were waiting for the Moors to come and tell them bad news, whether the white people who took the Moors over were going to come back and get them. They were waiting for word to see if the Moors were going to give word to the white people here that were hiding as settlers. All of the white people that you see here, that you see in the office, their great grandparents here are hiding criminals. They're criminals hiding under the British rule. Criminals hiding under the British rule. They turned their guns onto the British and killed the British. Then turned their guns on us, right? And then taken us over when they were supposed to go back to Britain with the Moors. Okay, well, while the Moors were here and over there, the Moors were getting murdered because they brought them here. So it was a war there by Hitler and all of his people, because now not Hitler, but before Hitler, people were trying to stop white people from living. There was a certain race of white people were trying to kill white people, and they didn't want them to come to America because they knew who was over here. They just knew it. I don't know. White people just knew it, and they were because the Moors told them who was over here, because the pharaohs would go back and forth over here and get cocaine. Remember when you type it in, the pharaohs was getting what had cocaine in their system in the coffins. You doing checking their DNA, they had cocaine in their system. You can't get cocaine nowhere else but Mexico. And black people were all that's where we were at, Mexico and California and all that. Okay. Well, the Moors in Morocco already knew that we were here. When they dropped their worst off in secret, they got in trouble for doing that. And that's why Paul Revere and all of them before that was hiding here in America, right? And then they turned their guns on the British because they didn't want to they didn't want to go back. They didn't want to go back to Britain because they were criminals. Yeah, they came over here as criminals. They ain't coming over here as just sailing the seas because they just no, they was hiding, they was running. These people were fleeing, these were criminals. Okay, now when that happened, they took over the British, and then they turned the Moors into slaves, and they turned them into Bass Reeves, because you have them in office today. You got Moors, claiming to have status under this thing, and they don't have any land. Well, you could go ahead and talk to a Moor. Well, we still don't have our land yet, but we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get our status. We'll get it. But see, this is what the stingy part about it is. Like, you mean your land? Yeah, if I get my land. Everybody else don't have any, but I get my land. That's how we roll. We only roll individually. We don't help out everybody else. It's just me. See, the U.S. government, it only recognizes me, the Moors. Yes, because you're a moron. That's why they labeled you a moron. Crazy? Moron. You're going to have to go back to Morocco, and it's beautiful over there. But anyway, this is the one that took us over. Now, he removed my great-grandparents from Choctaw. Okay, so this is, you have to look, see right here. Read it. This is the page. It tells you have 640 acres right here. See, you got 640 acres. Pause it. Okay. This is the page right here. It says it. Well, a treaty is blah, 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 blah. Here, let's see if you can see. Well, a treaty is an agreement or impact in writing made between two nations or more intended between two people. See, two people. Has nothing to do with you or me. Okay. Such a treaty as that was made between the United States government and the Choctaw Nation Indians who lived in the old Choctaw Indian Nation, Mississippi and Alabama on the 27th day of September 1830. The subject of that treaty agreement was to remove all of the Choctaw Nation Indians from Choctaw Nation east of the Mississippi River to Choctaw Nation Indian Territory. Before the treaty was signed, it became known that a good many Choctaw Indians were not going to go to the Choctaw Nation Indian Territory in order to protect their interests, their land. Article 14 was put in place into the treaty, Article 14, as follows. Each Choctaw head of family being remain alive and become a citizen of the United States. Ooh, thank you, Tasha Thompson. She just sent me $20. Thank you very much, Tasha. And speaking of people, nobody donated. We can't progress if we don't get forward. How are we going to progress if nobody's donating? Tasha Thompson, she just donated. I told you she'd be donating. Carrying on. Okay. Okay. Now, who is Choctaw? Choctaw is a community, a territory. It's a territory community, which reaches from Florida to Choctaw Nation That means your cousin, your family, your mother, your father, your uncle, your brother, right? And whoever had a baby over in Texas is Choctaw. So Choctaw's from Florida, Texas to Tennessee to Arkansas. So Arkansas is Choctaw, all the way in between. Okay, that means 640 acres is yours, all in between that. Well, imagine if they pushed everybody. That means everybody is owed 640 acres. This is this is agreed upon the Treaty of 1830 of Dancing Rabbit Creek. When I say where the rabbit hole goes, when they say that, we're talking about you the rabbit hole, because it started in Dancing Rabbit Creek. What's Dancing Rabbit Creek? Dancing rabbit means that because black people dance. I know that sounds crazy. I know, but it's they talk in a literal sense, like literally. There were rabbits in that community that actually there was a lot of rabbits, brown, white, black rabbits don't matter, but there was a lot of jackrabbits everywhere. And the women and we would wash our clothes in the creek, and there would be a lot of bunny rabbits that would be hopping and dancing, and we would name that, and we would name that particular area what it would mainly be about: rabbits dancing by a creek. So we also would dance too because we had music, and we would wash our clothes and we would see dancing rabbits everywhere. And that's why they called it Dancing Rabbit Creek, because the rabbit hole starts right there, and that would reach from Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, really. Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, right in there, Louisiana. It's all Dancing Rabbit Creek. So if we're gonna make a movie or something, it would have to probably be titled Dancing Rabbit Creek because it's talking about how we lived in the beginning. That's why I put it in my book. It's in well, no way, that's right. Um, the California